Welcome to the Rater training for the CAP system. If you have been chosen to be a rater on one of our procurements, you would have received communication from CSC outside the CAP system. But your first point of contact through CAPS would be for you to complete the conflict of interest form. You will receive this in an email format with whichever email is attached to your profile. With a link in the system. So once you receive that email, you'll see update your conflicts of interest. Just click on that. Once you click on that, you will be redirected to a browser where you would be asked to log in with your credentials. For the purpose of this video, we're going to use a test rater, Rater 1, who's going to be logging in. So if this is your first time logging in, you will be asked to change your password. Once you do that, you'll land on a page that has the details of the conflict of interest form that is attached to the procurement you've been chosen to rate on. So for this, it is the Rater training procurement, which is a test procurement that we've created for the purpose of testing and training. You'll scroll down, you'll see all the agencies that have applied or submitted proposals for this procurement. The first part is asking you that if you have a conflict with any of the proposals that have come in through these agencies, please check them off. So if you have a conflict, you would go in and select which agency you have a conflict with. If you do not have a conflict, you will leave all the agencies as unchecked. Below are questions that are associated with the conflict of interest form. If you do not have any conflict, you would just select no. But if you do, you would click on yes and provide a brief explanation as to what your conflict is. You would do that for the following questions. And then if you have any additional comments, you can add those here. If you don't, you can leave this box blank. At the very last step is to acknowledge the information that you provided is truthful. You would need to click or acknowledge it for us to receive your conflict of information or conflict of interest form. Once you do that, you would have submitted this to CSC. This is your Rater dashboard. If you were to click on this menu bar to the left, which is 9 dots, it will show you your screen view. So had you just logged in and not gone in through the link on the main page, you would see this, and your pending conflict of interest form would have been noted under the pending conflict of interest pod. You have the ability to customize this view under the options menu and click on configure dashboard. As a default, all of these would be available for you to view on your dashboard. So once you submit your conflict of interest form to CSC, we would review it on our end. And if you indicated that you have a conflict, we may still approve you as a rater based on what you input as your information. So in this case, Rater 1 determined that they had a conflict. We received it, but we reviewed it, and once upon review, we decided to approve Rater 1 as a rater for the Rater training procurement. So once that rater is approved, we would assign the proposals to Rater 1 to review. Once that Rater 1 has been assigned a proposal, you would notice that you receive an email that states that please see a new rating assignment for the Rater training procurement below with a link attached to it. Once you click on that particular link that says view applications, you'll go back into your dashboard. If you have been logged out of the system will prompt you to put your credentials back in and log back into the system. And you will notice that under the My Applications to Review, you have now 2 new proposals for which you need to submit your rating. So we'll go ahead and click on the MENA Testing Agency. Once you click on the MENA Testing Agency, you'll notice that the default area that your page lands on is the Start Rating tab. So you're in the Start Rating tab, and here are all the questions that have a rating attached to them. On the right hand side of the screen, you will see that your name here, so in this case it's Rater 1, and you're currently in round one of scoring. All the sections that are attached to this proposal that have rating associated with them are under the sections pod on the right hand side of the screen. The applications file pod is all the attachments that the agency has attached to the AFF. So you'll notice that this particular agency has 5 files that are associated with their application. This same pod will also have any files that are attached by CSC that could be a result of cures, and the agency may not have submitted via their AFF at the time of application. So you'll notice them all under the applications file. The pod that says solicitation files is all the files that are attached with the particular RFP. So the entire RFP document, the rating tool. So in this case, if you want to refer to the rating tool, you can click on rating tool and you can view it on this page. You can also choose to download the file, so the entire rating tool can be downloaded onto your desktop or your tablet. So once you click on download, it's saved under your downloads folder on your computer. If you want to open it in a separate window, you can just right click on it and select open link in a new window. So it goes into a completely new window on your computer. Or you can also open it as a separate tab on the same browser that you're using. So going back into the application files pod, this is also the area where CSC would be uploading all the performance files that are attached to this particular proposal in this pod. They will be labeled appropriately for you to reference to them. You can view the entire application, so all the questions that do not have a rating attached to them can be viewed under the view application. So this gives you a clear view of all the questions and answers in this particular proposal. So you'll notice that there are more sections under the view application as opposed to the start rating, and that is due to the fact that some of the questions do not have any ratings attached to them. So this is a sort of a long form view. You are able to print this as well if you want to reference it while doing the rating. If you're viewing it in this particular view and you do not find a particular file that the applicant may have reference to, that file can be found under the files pod. Or if you're in the Start Rating tab, it would be under the applications file pod. So we'll now go and work in the Start Rating tab. The first question is under the section Agency Detail, which you'll also notice the heading right here. And the gray box on top is the question that was asked in the AFF, and this is the response that was given by the applicant. So this area where it says score is where you'll input your score. If you hover on this I, it'll inform you of what the ranges are. So in this case, the incomplete is 0 to 5, acceptable is 6 to 10, and excellent is 11 to 15. Again, this is also referenced in your rating tool with extra information. So if you want to input your score, just input it in this pod. You'll notice that I inputted a score of 15 and the system has accepted it. If I were to input 16, which is out of the range, the system will highlight that box and will not allow you to save this information because it is outside the range. So we'll go ahead and change it to 15. If you have a comment, you may input it in here. Once you input your comment and save, you will notice that the running tally under scores is now 15 out of 15. This is due to the fact that section 1 had a total of 15 points and you scored it as 15. You'll notice that the agency detail turned into a green check mark, and if you notice a small blue sticky note, this indicates that this is a section where you have comments. So when you come in for interviews and you want to do a quick reference to where you had questions or comments that you'd input, you can do so by just identifying the blue sticky note. So let's go into the org capability section. This has a total of 4 questions. We want to show you that you can go in and put your score. You are able to, so once you put your score in as, let's say, 5, and you have to leave the section, or you may not have time to complete the section, you can just save it. Log out, log back in. Whenever you're ready, you can continue working in that section later on. So we'll go back into the org capability. You'll notice that the system saved your initial score of 5 for the first question. We also have an autosave feature, so if your computer is sitting idle and you've only rated on 2 out of 10 questions within a section, the system will autosave those 2 questions where you input the rating. So the next time that you come in, those are already logged into the system. We also want to highlight that if you put any comments in the comment boxes, those are subject to public records requests as an FYI. So let's go in and rate the remaining questions in this section. So I'm going to continue inputting my scores. Another feature that we have in the system is that when you're reading a question and you want to highlight something, you are able to select that particular line, and you'll notice an edit option pops up once you highlight something, and you click on that edit, and you can put your comment in this as well. But good practice is to add all your comments in the comment box that you may want to reference to during interviews or round 2 of rating. So we'll scroll down and click on rate this section. Once you click on rate this section, you'll notice that the scores have now changed to 37 out of 60. 60 is the running total of the 2 sections that you were working in. You can also notice that the scores at the bottom are reflecting what you input in that particular section. So the agency detail has 15 out of 50, while the org capability has 22 out of 45. We also have the percents available right next to them. You did not input any comments in the comment box in the org capability, so there is no blue sticky note, but you did in the agency detail, so the sticky note does show up here. To reference to something that you highlighted within a response, you can click on org capability, and once you hover down to where you highlighted it, you'll see it as a line that's highlighted, and if you hover over it, it'll show you the comment that you input. And you can still go in and edit that particular comment or come out of it. So let's continue rating and go into the next section, which is program sites. And again, same concept. The range shows up and you can input your score, either save it or click on rate this section. If you click on rate this section, the score will be logged and you'll go into the next section automatically. So we'll go in and input the scores for the remainder of the questions in the next section. So now we're in the last section, which is the budget. And again, just to reference that while you're under the section, you have the ability to see the budget that they provided right in where they would have provided the answer. So you can click on this box to view that file, or that file is also available under the applications file pod. And another place that it's available is if you're reading the entire application and you scroll down to the budget section, it would be available for you to view there as well. So you have multiple places where you can access the same file. So we'll go back into the start rating and go back into budget. You'll notice that because I didn't put a score in, the budget is still a red X. But I'm going to go in, I'll click on this file, view the budget, and whatever score that I want to give, I'll input that. and click on rate this section. So now if you have completed all of them should be green check marks, and you'll get a congratulations message up here. We want to highlight that even if you get this message and it's before the interviews and we have an open round 2 rating, you can still go in and modify your scores. So if you're reading one proposal today and you're rating on the second one tomorrow, and you may feel the need to come into your first one and change your scores, you can still go back in, click on that particular section that you want to change, and change that score. Another way to access the proposal is, let's assume that you have been logged out, and on the next day you want to go back and work on the same proposal that you were working on. You'll just log in. This is your welcome screen. You'll select CAPS, and you'll notice that the MENA testing agency that you're working on, you've completed 100% of the rating. But if you want to go in and continue working or change something, you can again click on that particular section and change it. A quick way to go to your main dashboard is to click on these 9 dots on to the left of your screen, and you're back in your main dashboard. If you select My Ratings on the top here, it will give you a detailed view of how you've scored a proposal. So the MENA testing agency that you are working on is noted on here. You'll notice that round 1 progress says that it's 100% complete. You can click on the application ID, and it will give you a breakdown on how you rated each section that was associated with that particular proposal. Once you go into round 2, it would be noted to the right of the screen under the round 2 progress. Another way to get an overview of all the proposals that are or have been in your queue currently or in the past is to click on the Proposals tab on the top left of the menu bar and look at all of the proposals that you've been assigned to historically or currently. You can see that the status bar says under review. That is because these 2 proposals are currently in the rating queue. If their status has changed to awarded or not awarded, the status would change appropriately here as well. So once you've rated all the proposals that are in your queue, you'll notice that both Shawanda Testing Agency and MENA Testing Agency have gone to 100%. If you were to click on that My Ratings tab again, you'll see that both of them round 1 progress is at 100%. And if I want to see the details of how I rated, I can just click on the application ID and look at those details. So this is where round 1 basically ends, and the day of the interview when you come in the current process is where we would activate round 2. So the round 2 happens during the interview portion. Round 1 will remain open up until round 2 is activated. Once we activate round 2, all your responses, comments, and rating scores would be transferred into round 2. So again, with relation to comments are subject to public records, so all those would transfer over to round 2, and you would work on round 2 rating at CSC. So once we activate round 2 on the CSC end and the interviews are happening at CSC, you will be prompted to go back in the system and log in as yourself. You will go under the My Applications to Review, and you'll notice that the number 1 next to both Shawanda Testing Agency and MENA Testing Agency has changed to number 2. This indicates what round you stand in the rating process. So let's go into Shawanda Testing Agency. You'll notice that all the scores from round 1 have been copied over to round 2. And your total of 85 out of 110 is logged here. And the system is now letting you know that it's now time to submit your review. So if you have any changes depending on the interview or questions asked, you can go into that particular section. So let's go in Agency Detail. And if you want to change your score from a 15, which is what you gave them in round 1, to a 10, you'll just log in as 10, and click on rate this section. So you'll notice that the total score changed from changed to 80 out of 110 instead of 85. It reduced it by 5 points. Again, you can choose to keep all the other sections the same or change appropriately based on the interviews that are happening. Let's assume that you do want to change something in the program design section. You'll go in, and if you want to increase the score to a particular answer, you can do so by just changing it. Or in this case, 10 was maximum. We can leave it as 10 and click on rate this section, and that will keep the total score as the same. Once you have completed doing this for all of the sections on the right, we will inform you at the CSC end when it's time to submit your round 2. You would click back in the start rating, and this is where you would submit your final rating for round 2. Once you submit this rating, there is no recall. The scores cannot be adjusted, so please be very mindful before you click the submit rating button. Before we do that, just want to highlight that your committee name would show up where it says number 1 if this is a procurement with several committees. Your particular committee name would show up here. The round indicates what round of rating you stand in, and right on top of the application is the status bar which says under review. And the name of the agency is right on top of the agency, and the application ID is to the left of it. So let's assume that the interviews are over and you're ready to submit your final round 2 rating. You can put in any comments that you wish to in this section, or you may choose to keep it blank and click on submit rating. Once you click on submit rating, there's another pop-up that asks you if you really want to submit your round 2 rating. We'll go ahead and click on OK and submit our round 2 rating. So if I were to go back into Shawanda Testing Agency, it will say that you've already submitted or you've already rated this application, and it won't allow you to change anything. We'll go back into the dashboard, and if you were to click on the My Ratings, you'll notice that round 2 has started. And again, for the MENA Testing Agency, it will say 100% because we have copied over your scores from the first round into the second round. But we were working with Shawanda Testing Agency. If I want to look at the details of how I rated Shawanda Testing Agency, you'll notice that the difference in the scores are listed under both round 1 and round 2. But the system will not allow you to go in and change the round 2 scores. Whereas for the MENA Testing Agency, the system will still allow you to go and change your round 2 scores because we haven't done the full submission. So this concludes the training for the rater piece. And that's it. Thank you.